talking about British values, there was news today, or I think it might have been yesterday. Was it today or yesterday? I forget. Anyway, there was news how. So there's probably a bunch of seppos in the comments here who don't understand what I'm going to be talking about here, but there's a woman, or I guess she's a woman now, she's 21 now, called Shamima Begum. Right, at age 15, she left the UK to join ISIS because she was groomed by like some kind of cell in the UK. I forget exactly the original story about how she was groomed, but essentially she left the UK at age 15 to go to Syria to fight for ISIS. She was groomed by a Dutch adult man who was, I think, 4 years her senior, so he was 19 when she was 15. She raped her so that she fathered 3 children with him. And then she went to Syria, then was part of their kind of... Well, let me have a look. Let me bring up the article. By article, I mean Wikipedia, because I'm too lazy to do proper research. Let me just have a look. Yeah, along with 2 friends, she left the UK in February in 2015 at the age of 15. Travelled via Turkey to join ISIS in Syria. Yeah, she married this Dutch-born Jago Redijk at the age of 15 when he was 19, right? I think it was 19. Yeah, 3 children. She would get birth 3 children with him. She's part of the ISIL's morality police to try and recruit other young women to the jihadist group. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. And essentially, she was found in Syria by a reporter, and then she became like this media star because what happened was. I say star, probably anti-star is probably a better way of calling it, where essentially she decided she didn't like being a member of ISIS because, she was a fucking child, right? So she wanted to come back to the UK because she didn't like it, right? Now, she is a British citizen. She has 2 British citizen parents, and she was born in Britain and is a British citizen. But there was this huge legal battle when she said that she wanted to come back to the UK, where because she'd been a member of ISIS and then been labelled a terrorist for this reason, which doesn't, understandably, right? Where they said because of that they were going to revoke her citizenship. Now you can't do that. Like, she's technically eligible for a Bangladeshi passport. She doesn't have one. She's not a Bangladesh citizen. She is a Bangladeshi citizen, rather. Like, the government of Bangladesh stated that she doesn't hold any citizenship and she will not be allowed to enter Bangladesh, possibly because of her link to ISIS or whatever. Britain then decided to revoke her citizenship, which is not permissible by international law. You can't just make people stateless. That's not... British law and international doesn't allow this. Like, that's not how things work. So she appealed the Home Office's decision to revoke her UK citizenship. The appeal then got the appeal got upheld, so that she was given the right to UK citizenship, so that she could come home. And then the appeal was then appealed by the Supreme Court, who then overturned the decision and said that she couldn't be allowed UK citizenship. So then she's trying to appeal that decision. But the news that broke today is that she's not allowed to come back to the UK to fight that decision, right, despite being a UK citizen. Now, I don't care what someone's done. I don't care how bad they are as a person or all the criminal things that they've done. You cannot make them stateless. You cannot make them stateless. That's not a thing that you can do, right? That's not permissible by law. Again, regardless of how heinous their crimes were, they have to be tried by a jury of their peers in the country of which they're a citizen. Easy peasy, right? That shouldn't be something that we need to discuss. But unfortunately, it is. So I understand why people are frustrated by the story, because some of the things that she said as a member of ISIS is that she supports their ideology, and when she asked about that, when she was inspired by videos of people beheading hostages, she said, despite saying that she still supports British values, she doesn't show any kind of remorse for the conduct that she's done. And I understand why people aren't happy with this. I'm not happy about this, but that doesn't change the fact that you can't make someone stateless, right? But you don't just hold radical beliefs like this out of nowhere, right? People don't just suddenly become, morally reprehensible terrorists, like religious extremists out of nowhere, right? Especially not at the age of 15. I see a lot of the discourse happening around here going, well, she was 50 and she knew the risks. Well, first off, she wouldn't have, like, she just, by law, she doesn't know the risks of marrying a 19-year-old man because she's not allowed to. Like, this is statutory rape we're talking about. He raped her multiple times and fathered multiple children with her. She's a rape victim and a grooming victim, right? Like, if we at 15 can't trust people to get married and have sex, how can we trust them to know what's best for them with regards to whether they should join an international terrorist organization, right? Like, it's not a logical or, you know, it's not a logical thing for someone to do just out of nowhere. Just go, you know what I feel like doing? Oh, I feel like killing some of the infidels, right? That's the thing I want to do. That's not how people's minds work. To be able to radicalize into these ideologies, it has to come from somewhere. And what's the best way to do that to someone when their brain is still a kind of puddle of primordial goo when they're a child, right? So to do this kind of programming, that takes a long time. That takes, you know, a reasonable amount of time, but also deprogramming that will also take quite a long time as well. Like, people are acting like, oh well, she knew what she was getting into, so we can't be held responsible for her, which is stupid for the first reason, she can't make her stateless, but by international law, right? That's not proportionate, as you rightly state there, John. And second of all, it's not like she just up and decided to do this out of nowhere. She's like, that's how grooming works. You literally, you know, I hate to use the term brainwashing because it seems like something, you know, that the kind of phrase that someone who says "wake up, sheeple" would say, right? But that's legitimately what it is. This is brainwashing. What they're doing, they have literally poisoned her mind to believe this ISIS mumbo jumbo. And if you're this young and you've been brought up into this, it's going to take a long time to change these values that you've been made to hold so deeply. That's not going to change overnight, and it's definitely not going to change while she's still in Syria. Or if she's in Bangladesh, right? These things aren't going to change. The only way you're going to change these is with a kind of coordinated and fastidious deprogramming attitude. Like, for what it's worth, she's clearly culpable in this situation, right? Even if she was 15, she's still, you know, become a terrorist. Like, that's not a small thing. Like, but because it's a small thing, it can't just happen out of nowhere. So what we as far as I'm concerned, what we have to do, she has to come back to the UK because that's the country that she is a citizen of. She is British. She has British parents, right? That's not up for debate. That's not up for negotiation. That's not up for discussion, right? She cannot be made stateless by law. That's not a thing that you can do. However, what she does need to do is come home, stand trial for all the crimes she's committed, because that's a thing that she has done. She has committed crimes, right? That is what she's been doing as a member of ISIS. She has to come back, stand trial, go to prison if necessary, almost certainly go to prison, which is almost certainly necessary, and part of that process has to involve deprogramming and de-radicalizing. People are saying, one of the big ideas that I keep hearing from people about why she shouldn't come home is because she's dangerous and she might radicalize other people. First of all, she's had her face plastered over the media for years now. 2 years, I think it's been, since the story first broke, right? For multiple years, she had her face plastered across the media. Like, she's not going to be living a normal life when she comes out of prison, right? And even if she wasn't deprogrammed, then who's going to listen to someone like that? And also, the reason why ISIS are able to recruit people is because of the way that we act with regards to Muslims in this country. They use this West versus Muslim narrative because that's being driven by the far right. It's been driven by conservatives. It's being driven by Islamophobes, right? And they can use that. They take that rhetoric, then reverse it, and then use that as a recruitment tactic. If we can't show that as members of our society, members of British society, that we have at least some semblance of sympathy and some semblance of understanding when it comes to these, it comes to radicalization and these issues, all it's going to create is more radicals. This is a continuous feedback loop that is not going to solve this issue of Western interventionism and what the harm we've done. Like, one of the things that she said that people bring up a lot in this issue is that she said that when asked about the Manchester Arena bombing, she said it was wrong to kill innocent people, but the ISIS deemed it justified as retaliation for the coalition bombing of ISIS-held areas. Like, it's wrong, but it's understandable, right? It's understandable why she would hold these issues, given how she's been radicalized. Like, it's understandable why you, like, you know, even if a terrorist don't want to kill innocents, I guess these people don't. I'm not sure. I've not done enough personal research into the, you know, the ideological beliefs of the Islamic State, right? But if you've been fed all of these lies about the West versus Muslims, and, you know, the way in which Western interventionism has caused radicalization in Islamic populations, both here and overseas, then that then I'm sure she thinks she's justified in saying that. And we need to be able to create an international and national environment where these views can't become mainstream. We have to not give them the ability to be able to recruit on these particular issues. If we'd have never bombed these ISIS-held areas, they wouldn't have a reason to force people to retaliate, right, and to use that as a recruitment and radicalization tool. So we have to be able to stop Western imperialism, hold these people with some degree of sympathy, and then, at the very least, adhere to fucking international law on these issues. Like, it goes back to the Hassan Piker drama with what he said about 9/11. Like, he's wrong, but it's understandable. It's literally the same. I mean, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the same. It's, you know, the same thing. It's the same kind of thought process that they go into justifying these atrocities. That was a bit of a tongue twister and a half. Like, and as you say, what would happen if she was a white person? There was a white woman called Samantha. I think she was radicalized as an adult, not as a child. As an adult, she was radicalized. She went over to ISIS and then came back, but she was a white British citizen. Shamima Begum's a brown British citizen. Shamima Begum's a brown British citizen of this, right? She was white, and then she came back and, you know, stood trial and got radically programmed. What happened? The Sun didn't say to make her stateless and defy international law, despite the fact that she was white and also an adult. They paid her £30,000 to tell her story to the Sun. Like, it's just completely inconsistent, and you can't, like. I hate to appeal to hypocrisy and to, like, interpolate from, extrapolate, sorry, from incomplete sources, but I can't see much justification for this other than the fact that she's brown. Like, when those grooming gangs who, you know, rapes little white girls, like, of the same age as her, like, was the uproar was understandable. Everyone was just like, save the children, grooming gangs have to go. Whereas when a brown girl is groomed and they make her into a terrorist over a period of her growing up, right? And then she gets raped multiple times. That's like my potato privilege, raped multiple times, because that's what happened. They show her actually zero sympathy. Like, I honestly, it boggles my mind to see how people can think that because she was 15, she somehow knew what she was doing. First of all, the actual moral compass of someone who can be radicalized to this extent at that age is... Sorry, my stream died for a second there. Like, the thought process that you have to go through as someone at that age to try and even think about something like this is justified is way beyond, like, the level of normal that we can hold someone, like, criminally, like, not criminally culpable for, but, like, personally culpable for, right? If you're age 14, 15 and you think that, you know, people can be beheaded and that's fine, that's not just, like, a failure of morality, right? That's a failure of, like, brain functioning. That's not something that you can just explain away by saying, oh, well, she knew what she was getting into, right? This is some, like, I hate to say brainwashing, but that's literally what it is. That doesn't happen out of nowhere. And, you know, if she was at the point at which she was going to justify the fact that she was doing this, that's just not normal interaction. You can just hand wave away by saying that she knew what she was getting into and she consented towards it. Let alone the fact that she was raped multiple times by this adult man, who was white, by the way. He was a white Dutchman. Like, it's... I genuinely can't understand any way that they can justify this, making her stateless, anything other than racism at this point. Like, who's she going to radicalize by coming over? Like, she's not going to be part of regular society. That's not what's going to happen. Let me just have a look. Um, on 3rd of May, Bangladeshi Foreign Minister repeated the position Begum if she entered like. I didn't even realise this. Just double checking. So the foreign minister of Bangladesh said that if she entered Bangladesh, she would face death penalty due to the zero tolerance policy towards terrorism. Like, our making her stateless and trying to get her to go into Bangladesh is literally sentencing her to death. By extraditing someone to countries that have the death penalty is as good as having the death penalty yourself, right? That's what it is. The crazy part is that these kind of jingoists, these ultra British like nationalist Little Englander types are always the first people to say, well, we should turn asylum seekers away at the border and they're all criminals and illegal immigrants should be sent back to their own countries. The rest of the world go, hi, Britain, we got a criminal here. She's a citizen. We'd like to send her back, please. And they're like, oh no, sorry, we didn't mean us. We didn't mean our criminals, just your criminals. It's completely two-faced. And like, because generally, I think that extraditing criminals is a good thing. Like, whether or not Julian Assange, for example, who needs to be tried for crimes, who would allegedly needed to be tried for crimes in Sweden over sexual assault allegations, like, probably was correct to extradite him, right? Like, we don't know whether they've been turned over. Anyway, I digress. There's no logical or emotional reasonable justification for anything that they're doing to Shamima Begum, right? And again, I understand why people take this hardline view, because terrorism is bad. I know this is a milquetoast opinion, but terrorism is not a good thing, right? But we need to be able to stop the perpetuation of this conflict and the perpetuation of the Islamic radicalization pipeline. We have to be better. We have to set an example to the rest of the world and to the Islamic world that we in the West are not the enemy, right? We don't want to create enemies through foreign policy and through military interventionism. We have to stop this, and the first thing we have to do is treat people like they're salvageable. Like, isn't that part of what we like here on the left? One of the things that we, obviously, not with regards to people on Twitter, we'll just cancel them if they say one of the bad words, right? But part of our modus operandi on the left is rehabilitation over punishment, right? And I believe that the vast majority of people are eligible to be eligible to be rehabilitated. I'm not saying that she shouldn't stand trial for her crimes. She absolutely shouldn't. She absolutely should be sent to prison. I mean, if that's what the judge and jury recommend, I'm sure they would. But I'm not going to comment on a legal issue. I know nothing. On a legal issue about what her crimes represent, right? I don't know. I'm not going to try and sit here and pretend that I know exactly what's going to happen if she did go to court. But that's what should happen. She should go to court. She should be tried for her crimes, and then after that, she should be de-radicalized. And that's the best way of doing things. Otherwise, this cycle is going to continue in perpetuity forever, and we're never going to escape the cycle of radicalization without this.